Canada is boosting its efforts in the testing of milk as an outbreak of avian flu spreads among cattle in the U.S. Canada's health agencies say officials will enhance the testing of milk at the retail level to look for viral fragments. That's after inactive fragments of H5N1 were found in grocery store milk in the U.S. Officials here say commercially sold milk and milk products remain safe. Lactating dairy cattle coming into the country from the U.S. will now require negative test results for the flu. All right, let's bring in Dr. Christopher Labos, epidemiologist and cardiologist. Thanks for being here, as always, Doctor. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
So, could avian flu be a threat to food safety? How concerned do Canadians need to be when buying milk and milk products?
So, with regard to food safety, not at all. The relevant point that we were able to find traces of avian influenza in milk samples in the U.S. is really just a reflection that it was spreading amongst the dairy cattle in the U.S., which means that it made the jump to a different species, I think, much earlier than people realized, and it was much more widespread than people realized. So it's been spreading amongst cows probably since late 2023, not just for the past month, which is when we've been talking about it. The fact that you can find traces or DNA fragments of the virus in the milk does not mean that the milk itself is dangerous to drink or that you're going to catch avian influenza from the milk, for the very simple reason that we pasteurize our milk. The reason why we pasteurize, the reason why we do this to our milk is to kill off all the bacteria and viruses that used to be in there. We initially started doing it because cows used to catch tuberculosis and people would get infected with tuberculosis by drinking contaminated milk. Which is obviously not that much of a concern anymore. But the mere process that we do that means that the milk itself is not dangerous. So that's not what people have to worry about.
So you say that it is a concern about this virus making the jump from poultry to cattle. How concerning is that?
It is somewhat concerning because when a virus gains the ability to go from one species to another, especially once it's able to infect mammals, because we are mammals, it makes it much more likely that it's going to start infecting humans and then having human-to-human spread. Now, there have been cases of humans being infected with avian influenza H5N1 before. It's just that when it does happen, the cases tend to be self-limited and we don't have sustained community spread. So once the virus gains the ability to do that, it could potentially be a problem. We just don't really know when or even if it will gain the ability to do that. But if it can go from infecting different species of birds to infecting cows and then infecting, other animal species, other mammals, it makes it increasingly likely that it could make the jump to humans. And that's why people in the field are researching this and keeping a very close eye as to how widely it's infecting cattle and other animal species.
So are there any precautions that we should be taking at this point?
Well, for you as an individual, for all the viewers watching us right now, no. That being said, if you do come across a dead bird in the middle of the road, maybe don't go and poke at it with a stick, right? So if you do see a dead animal, call the animal control authorities. Don't go and touch it, because even if it doesn't have avian influenza, it could have a bunch of other things. This is really more of an issue for people who work in the industry, who do bird farming, cattle farming. Those are the individuals whom, if they're going to be in close contact with animals, really do need to test their animals and test themselves. One of the big issues in the U.S. when it comes to sort of gauging how severe this is that a lot of people who work in the industry don't then go and get tested. And it makes it very hard to know how much of a threat for humans this really could be.
So bottom line, we can feel okay about buying milk at the store.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, as long as it's pasteurized milk, which the vast majority of milk in Canada is, of course, if you're buying it at a supermarket.
All right. Dr. Christopher Labos, epidemiologist and cardiologist, thank you very much for being here.